So I bought the new Valentino Uomo Born in Roma The Gold, and I really hope this is going to impress me more than Born in Roma Green Stravaganza. This is supposed to be a spicy and woody vanilla, and I do know that Valentino can make bangers when it comes to vanilla, so yeah, I hope it's gonna be a good one. So back when I bought Uomo Rockstar Noir, that one was supposed to have been a limited edition, and I actually now at least believe it was, because now it's quite hard to find. This, according to the Valentino website, is also supposed to be a limited edition. This is a first impression and not a review, but I will share my initial thoughts on what it smells like, usage, performance and more. So let's open this thing up. Some of the notes in Valentino Uomo Born in Roma The Gold are solar notes, spicy notes, nutmeg, Virginia cedar, amber and vanilla. So let's find out what this thing is all about. First up in the air. Okay, and this, just based on this first impression and that initial spray, this gave me Born in Roma intense vibes with that vanilla, but I definitely pick up on those sort of solar notes in the opening. And now let's try on skin as well. Okay, off skin, a lot more spicy. Yeah, like a dose of spiciness in the opening, and like a few seconds after, in comes that sort of a vanillic and solar-ish scent. And yeah, this definitely, I mean, it really feels, just based on this first impression, but it really feels like they sort of took the vanilla from Born in Roma Intense and sort of remove the aromatic aspect of it, i.e. that lavender, and instead put in some spices in the opening together with that sort of warmth and shine from the solar notes. So I'm not exactly sure what's in that sort of a solar accord or note, but there's something slightly fresh about that aspect in here. So the opening, based on this first impression, spicy. However, the spiciness is definitely not of the sort of overly sharp or overly bright or overly fresh kind. This, at least based on this first impression, is sort of a soft spicy. You get a big dose of vanilla, and that vanilla definitely reminds me of the vanilla from Born in Roma Intense. It's not exactly the same, but it gives me Born in Roma Intense vibes. And then you have that sort of a solar note aspect, which basically gives it like a combination of something slightly fresh and something sort of a warm. As this thing heads into the mids, it does feel like it turns into something that is with like a quite a prominent dose of amberiness. So at this point, quite intensely ambery and vanillic, and this is where I feel it sort of moves away a bit from the vibe that I initially got from Born in Roma Intense. That one was sort of a primarily vanillic with the aromatic aspect of lavender. This one turns into something that is sort of a vanillic and ambery warm. Now the spiciness from the opening is still in the mids, although I do feel that that part has become even softer by now. So a recap of the mids, I feel that the mids is pretty much like an ambery vanilla with a bit of soft spiciness to it. Now I'm a bit confused when it comes to that sort of a solar note aspect, at least in the mids. It feels like there's something else to it in the mids. However, I also don't feel there's a prominent part of it in the mids. So I'm gonna wait for this to dry down. So we're back, and the dry down to me is where I feel its woodiness finally starts to come through. So I believe the heart of it was supposed to be that cedar, but it's not until the dry down that I actually start to pick up on it. And the dry down to me is basically ambery, vanillic with a bit of woodiness. And if I'm gonna sort of put those in order of how prominent they are, I think I'm mostly getting a big dose of vanilla, and the whole thing has this sort of ambery warmth and shine to it with a bit of woodiness in the background. Still a bit sort of confused about the solar note aspect of this, especially in the dry down. I feel there's something else to it in the dry down, but that part is really not that, unfortunately, really not that prominent. So the dry down in a nutshell, primarily vanillic, quite ambery with a bit of woodiness in the background, and there's something else to it as well, that sort of a solar note aspect. However, it would have been fantastic if that aspect would have been more noticeable in the dry down. So based on this first impression, definitely interesting. However, it also feels a bit sort of familiar. Both sort of looking within the line and my first sort of initial thought of being like, okay, this feels, the vanilla in here feels a bit familiar to the vanilla in Born in Roma Intense. But overall as well, looking at sort of, okay, this is an ambery vanilla. There are other ambery, a lot of other ambery vanillas out there as well. So in a way, it doesn't really feel like something super new or anything. So let's talk about the vibe. The vibe I'm getting from this is more of something that is sort of a playful, fun, and a bit flirty than something that is sort of a classy or elegant. So let's talk about compliments and mass appeal. This is definitely a mass appealing scent, and I do think this kind of scent is pretty much hard to go wrong with if you're looking for the kind of scent that a lot of people will enjoy getting a whiff of. However, I do think this one will turn out to be slightly sort of less mass appealing than, let's say, Born in Roma Intense, simply because Born in Roma Intense has that fantastic combo of that super smooth vanilla together with the sort of a brightness from the lavender. So here are my initial thoughts on usage, so like seasons and occasions, and this in a way sort of makes me feel like how I feel about Born in Roma Intense. I know a lot of people feel that Born in Roma Intense cannot be used throughout the year, but I do think it can. And when it comes to the gold, I don't feel this is a super heavy or super deep kind of scent. And on the other sort of end of the spectrum, this is not a freshie. So yeah, it's not super fresh and it's not something that is super deep. So I do feel this is an ambery vanilla with a bit of woodiness that can be used throughout the year. This is something I feel you can use both sort of formally, like work, school, stuff like that, and casually when you are going out, when you are going on a date, pretty much whenever. In other words, I don't find anything in here or about it that sort of prevents it from being used throughout the year. And the same thing when it comes to occasions. Yeah, you can use it pretty much anytime, anywhere. So who's Valentino Uomo Born in Roma The Gold for? Number one, I do think that you should be someone who enjoys vanillic scents, because this, at least to me, is primarily a vanillic scent. Number two, you should probably also enjoy amber scents, because this, at least to me, is quite ambery. The woodiness of it is something, I mean, the woodiness is pushed sort of into the background and something I believe most people will enjoy. So yeah, if you usually enjoy vanillic and amber scents, then you will probably enjoy this. And one thing I do want to mention is that if you enjoyed the vanilla in Born in Roma Intense, then I do probably, most likely, but not 100% certain of course, but you will most likely enjoy the vanilla in here. The vanilla in the gold is not as smooth as in Born in Roma Intense, but this gives me Born in Roma Intense vanillic vibes. If you do not enjoy vanillic scents, if you do not enjoy quite amber scents, then yeah, this is definitely something you should stay away from. So I'm not gonna go that much into alternatives to this, but one I wanna mention straight away, the one I initially thought of when I sprayed this, is Born in Roma Intense. I mean, this and Born in Roma Intense are not the same, but the vanilla in here definitely makes me think of that one. And I absolutely love Born in Roma Intense. When it comes to performance, I really don't know, and I will have to get back to you on that aspect of this fragrance. However, based on how it sort of lingers around me and how it oozes off my skin, I do not think this is, I could be wrong, but I do not think this is a strong fragrance. This feels like something that is slightly above average. So when it comes to price, I paid 130 ml for 100 ml. And if I remember correctly, I pretty much paid the same thing for Uomo Born in Roma Green Stravaganza. This smells good, but it also definitely does not feel like something revolutionary or something that is extremely good. I like it, and it does give me Born in Roma Intense vibes, and Born in Roma Intense is a fragrance I like a lot. This is almost like the ambery, slightly warmer kind of version of that one. And yeah, this is just a first impression. I'm gonna wear this more, and I'm definitely going to let you know if I sort of change my mind on this. When it comes to green Stravaganza, I have pretty much not changed my mind about that one. I'm still sort of feeling that it's an underwhelming scent, at least to me. Do I wish that sort of a solar aspect of it would have been more intense and more prominent? Definitely. I like it. Do I love it? No. Do I recommend it? I mean, if you already have ambery vanillas, then probably not. Definitely not something that blows me away. And I think, Valentino, please do something that is a bit different in the future. I'm still waiting for something like the noir one. Please, please, please go in that direction and do something quite different. In a way, I also feel a bit, but definitely not as much as I felt about green Stravaganza. I feel also something that this is a bit sort of underwhelming. I was expecting, or at least hoping, for something with a bit more unique personality to it. So I would absolutely love to know if you have tried Valentino Uomo Born in Roma The Gold and how you feel about it. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you dislike it? What are your thoughts on it? Like this video, thank you. I really do appreciate it. Make sure you hit that subscribe. Make sure you check out the videos over there, and I'll see you in the next one.